Spider-Man, Gran Turismo 7, Demon's Souls, Ratchet & Clank, Sackboy, that plus about 20 other games were announced at the PlayStation event yesterday. We also got to see the console plus a couple of accessories. Today we're going to dive in and talk about PlayStation strategy going forward. The biggest reveal today was the console, which was revealed at the end of the showcase. It's very big, it's white, and it's gotten mixed reviews. My take on it is you kind of knew what to expect when you saw the controller about a month ago, so it shouldn't be a surprise that the console is white and black. I think it looks fine. It's probably going to clash with everything you have in your living room, but at the end of the day, the conversation about what it looks like is going to die down, and we're going to be talking about what the interface looks like and what the games look like. Another nice surprise was that Sony introduced two consoles, a standard edition and the digital edition, essentially introducing two tiers to the market. You have one that'll probably be priced lower, which is the discless version. That's exciting, proving that people are willing to buy games online and just download them to the console versus going to the store and buying a physical copy. Unfortunately, it's bad news for GameStop, who faces another hurdle in their secondhand games market, but is what it is. Leading up to the event, Sony had been boasting about a couple of features on the console that make it sort of stand out for the next gen. One was the SSD, another was the ray tracing, and then some of the features in the controller itself. We really got to see the benefits of these features today, particularly in Ratchet & Clank. So the idea behind Ratchet & Clank is that you can jump between different dimensions, and you actually see this in real time. There's worlds loading instantly, there's morphing, there's all kinds of particles flying everywhere. The game looks extremely busy and there's a lot happening, and it's just flawless, it's just smooth. You see all that technology actually working, and I thought that was really cool. Something that in previous gens we just didn't have. Another thing that Ratchet & Clank showed off was the ray tracing. So I'm not an expert, but ray tracing, from my understanding, is surface reflections and lighting. And there was a close-up of Clank where you see his metal. It never looks so polished, it never looks so good. And when you even look at the floor in different game demos, you really see the lighting and the realism that this technology provides. It's something, again, that we didn't have in the previous gen, and it's something that you're gonna see in the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox as well. Another game that sort of made me feel like, wow, this is really next gen, was Resident Evil Village. Specifically the scene with the old man, the close-up of his face, his expression, his eyes, his skin, and then when we're in the house and you see that light coming in, that moonlight coming in to light the surfaces, the close-ups, it just looks beautiful. Never really seen a game look like that, and I can't wait to see and play the final version. Most of the games that were announced were for 2021. There was a couple with the holiday 2020 tag and one Capcom game for 2022. I think without having a release date for the PlayStation 5, I think it's safe to say that all those holiday 2020 games are probably going to be launch titles. So we're potentially looking at Spider-Man Miles Morales, Jet, Godfall, and NBA 2K21 as launch titles. It's still tough to say if you consider that a strong launch lineup, but you have to imagine that there's going to be games from Activision and Ubisoft that are going to be launching as well. So you're going to have a decent library. Is this going to be a killer launch? Probably not. I would say no. I want to get quickly into a couple games that I personally really liked. This is just my opinion from what I saw. Stray is just an aesthetically beautiful game. Apparently you play as a cat with a backpack, really cool, in a world filled with robots where humans no longer exist for whatever reason. Doesn't matter. We'll find out. It looks beautiful. It looks there's this sort of sadness in the world, and I'm just really curious to explore that. The other game I really liked was Little Devil Inside, which looks like a mini Monster Hunter game with the strange narrative going on the side. The artwork is beautiful. The gameplay looks fun. It looks exciting, dangerous. These worlds look cool. That is really the kind of game that speaks to me. Single player adventure games, really excited to get into that. And there are a bunch of other games that are really going to speak to a diverse group of gamers out there. Something else that stood out to me that not a lot of people are talking about was the inclusion of the media remote. I think this hints at how Sony's thinking about the PlayStation as a media device. So essentially replacing your Apple TVs and your Roku boxes, and people essentially using the PlayStation 5 to watch Netflix, HBO Max, Hulu, and all of those other apps. And a lot of people remember Xbox tried this strategy a couple years ago, completely backfired.
Xbox, watch TV, TV, sports TV.
But I think the reason for that is they forgot about their core base, they forgot about their players, and they focused specifically on media, which at the time no one was really interested in. It could have been a cool add-on factor, but it can't be the selling point of your Xbox. And I think Sony here did a neat thing in sort of introducing or hinting at the media capabilities but focused all on the game, which is all really, really impressive. And then there were a couple of things that weren't answered. Number one, most obviously, is the launch date. Sony still hasn't revealed that. But obviously we know it's going to be sometime in late November. That's typically when consoles launch. Another thing was the price. They seem to be playing a game of chicken with the Xbox. I imagine they're both going to be similarly priced. My guess is the PlayStation Standard is probably going to be $499 and the digital is probably going to be $449. One of the big reasons neither company has revealed the price is because of the current economy. That and a potential recession coming down the line. So $50 or $100 is going to make a huge difference on what console people buy. Another thing that wasn't mentioned was the PSVR. I'm sure they've invested a lot of money in it. The PSVR sells really well compared to other devices, so I'm sure they're going to keep supporting it and bring it on to the next gen. They just didn't mention it, but I expect to hear something soon. And lastly, the thing we didn't see that I'm always most excited about is the interface. I'm really curious to see what they're thinking in terms of design. I've never really been a fan of the crossbar. I always thought the PlayStation interface was a little clunky, a little slow, especially when you go to the PlayStation store. It's just not a good experience. Aesthetically, it's not great. When you have something like Xbox, it's also not great, but at least the homepage feels like a homepage. I like that so much more. When you get to the menus, it gets a little convoluted, but the homepage is really important. Lastly, it's important to note the momentum shift and the perception of the PlayStation 5 today compared to where it was a few months ago. It was obvious a few months ago that Microsoft was doing everything right in promoting the new Xbox. We got to see it. We got to see the specs, which are very, very impressive. And they had all the right momentum. They had everyone excited about their console. That was up until about a month ago when they had their big games reveal event, and it just really fell flat. Mainly because they didn't really have any big titles and they didn't really show off actual next-gen gameplay. Well, Sony kind of started to shift the conversation after that. They showed off their controller, and then yesterday, or particularly leading up to yesterday's event, there was a lot of noise generating about it, and they really pulled through. I think they hit a home run. This was essentially an E3 presentation. It wasn't really boring, it was exciting. You got all the games and the console minus all the sales figures nonsense. So I think the momentum is back on PlayStation's side. That being said, Xbox has their own event in July, which they plan on showing true next-gen gaming first-party titles and some titles from other partners. So that's gonna be a big deal. And at that point, I think the playing field is going to be pretty level and people are going to be genuinely excited about both consoles.